This is a poster published by Hindustan Socialist Republican Army after killing British official J.P. Saunders. The intention of this act was to avenge the death of Lala Lajpat Roy, and the revolutionaries behind this act were Shivram Rajguru, Sukhdev Thapar, Chandrasekhar Azad, and Bhagat Singh. Bhagat Singh is often remembered for his two courageous and violent acts, avenging the death of Lala Lajpat Roy and Central Assembly bombing. But the legacy of Bhagat Singh cannot be limited to his idealistic heroism. He was more of a man of ideas, who lived by his ideas. The significance of Bhagat Singh was not because of his choice of violence as a method of resistance against British rule. His real contribution lay in trying to formulate a revolutionary philosophy. Bhagat Singh was an active participant of non-violent, non-cooperation movement led by Gandhi. However, the withdrawal of this movement as a result of Chauri Chaura incident, in which protesters clashed with police, disappointed most of the revolutionaries, and they sought for an alternative path, leading to what is described as the second phase of revolutionary movement. The importance of this phase was in its ideological content, and in shaping this character, Bhagat Singh played the most crucial role. What enabled him to do so was his intellectual engagement with Marxism, which turned him from a romantic idealist revolutionary who loved violence to a materialist and atheist. He was a voracious reader who deeply studied the history of Russian revolutionary movement. He has written in his book that it was his passion to study and read that replaced his love for violent methods with serious ideologies. He studied the philosophies of Karl Marx, Lenin, Trotsky, and other men who had successfully carried out a revolution in their countries. He envisioned a system in which there was no exploitation of man by man and nation by nation. He did not believe that Gandhian philosophy would lead to a transformation of society. He observed that Gandhian politics would only replace one set of exploitation by another set of exploitations. He founded the alternative in socialism. He conceived of socialism as the absence of class domination and capitalism. He was a member of Hindustan Republican Association, which was later transformed to Hindustan Socialist Republican Association, when the central concern of the revolutionaries became socialism. On April 8, 1929, Bhagat Singh along with Padukeshwar Dutt hurled two bombs in the Central Legislative Assembly in New Delhi to protest against an unfavorable bill. Interestingly, the actual intention of this act was not to hurt or kill anyone, but to get arrested and use the further court appearances to popularize the cause of their organizations. He threw the bomb so carefully that it wouldn't hurt anyone, and also threw copies of a leaflet in the assembly which quoted a French anarchist as saying, "It takes a loud noise to make the deaf hear," and signed off with the now epochal statement, "Inqulab Zindabad," or "Long live revolution." He did not resist his arrest at this point. At the time of his trial, he did not use any lawyer to defend him. Instead, he used this occasion to propagate the idea of India's freedom. Through his brilliant statements, Bhagat Singh demolished the basis of the court judgment and emphasized on the importance of motive. He argued that the motive of the action should be the main consideration while judging the offense of an accused. The intellectual ability and analytical capacity of Bhagat Singh are best expressed in his jail writing, entitled "Why I Am an Atheist." In the case of Origin of Man, he invoked Darwin's theory of evolution. He wrote that the idea of God was brought into imaginary existence to encourage man to face boldly all the trying circumstances. He identified that people believe in God to console themselves, that in the time of his suffering, a true friend was still there to help him, to support him, and that he was almighty and could do anything. He considered belief in God and offering daily prayers as the most selfish and degraded act from the part of man. He was always conscious about the role that religion could play in society, and he was always opposed to communal politics. He was a champion of secularism. Given the ideas of Bhagat Singh, it's paradoxical that Hindu communal forces are trying to associate him as their ideologue. During his last days, he wrote that he found fulfillment in life by serving humanity and liberating it from its sufferings and distress. Apart from freedom from the British, Bhagat Singh's goal was to build an India where poverty, socio-economic disparity, and exploitation did not exist. He failed in accomplishing both these goals. But as he wrote, man's duty is to try and endeavor. Success depends on time and circumstances. He died decades back, but his ideas are still very much alive. Bhagat Singh was a realist. His views are very relevant even in the context of globalization. He stood for the end of exploitation of man by man and nation by nation. His slogan of Inqulab Zindabad was always followed with "Down with imperialism." For him, revolution was a complete reorganization of society so that every man would get an opportunity to grow and contribute to national progress. We got rid of colonial imperialism today, but today we have the imperialism of corporations. Corporations rule nations, and Bhagat Singh provides the most clear ideas to fight this scenario.